All right, folks, here we are live with episode 3 of Controlled Chaos. I'm your host, Jason Liederfein, a U.S. Army combat veteran and the Chief Operating Officer of Cage Fury Fighting Championships. Before we bring our guest in, just want to show our event with CFFC next week, so give it a watch.
The Union League of Philadelphia, a patriotic society where love of country leads, is proud to come together at Union League Liberty Hill to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday in a very special way. In partnership with Cage Fury Fighting Championships, a company with a long history of special events, from shows at our nation's largest military base to a barn in the mountains of the Rockies, they're not shy to try something bold. CFFC embraces a rich tradition of developing some of combat sports' most storied athletes and champions. The road to the top is long and winding, and it all starts here.
The future champion.
On Friday, May 29th, that road to the top passes through Union League Liberty Hill. One night of fights to make history and celebrate our nation's anniversary while we raise money for two incredible charities. This is the Thrill on the Hill.
Well, we've got the man of the hour, Shane Sparks. Welcome to Controlled Chaos. Thanks for joining us.
This is fantastic, Jason. Great to see you, and it was great to hear the voice of John Morgan once again. And CFFC had some great times on the wrestling side of things, and just the vision of the things that you guys are doing in combat sports is awesome. That's going to be a great event.
Definitely, you got to see some of the clips of events that you were commentating on with CFFC Match Day. We had a lot of fun with that. We got to see a lot of things, and it was amazing how much we grew. The second year, 10 of the finals, there was 20 wrestlers, and 13 of them were CFFC Match Day vets. So that was a really special thing to be a part of.
It was awesome. I mean, when I think about some of those matches we did, I automatically go back to Wyoming when we were, in the barn. Then there was the one year we were on the rodeo grounds. I mean, those were just such cool events, very unique. And I can only imagine how great it was to be a part of that as an athlete. Just different cool opportunities that these kids will remember for a real long time. I know I will.
Absolutely. So our goal here is, I want people to know at the end of this, know things about Shane Sparks that they might not have known, and hear the story.
That's pretty scary, Jason. That's pretty scary.
It is true, and I've heard a lot of the stories in our road trips and our traveling back and forth to different cities and different days, and we had a lot of long road trips, and I got to hear a lot about you that I don't think a lot of people necessarily know, and I think it's really valuable. And I would be wrong if we didn't start with what I think started it all and drove you to become the man you are. And that's a loss in the state finals. We've talked about this, and it's a story that's been told a lot of times by you. And if someone hasn't heard it, walk us through what happened your senior year in the state finals.
Yeah, so long story short, I mean, I began wrestling in first grade and wanted to be a state champion. That was always the biggest goal. So My junior year, I took third, and I'm always a big believer in coming back and get that next best thing. I mean, I got more pride in third place finishes over the course of my wrestling career, limited as it was in comparison to, Division I athletes, but it still mattered. And I think that's what makes wrestling really, really cool. And I speak about wrestling. You could probably say this about many sports, but wrestling in particular, I think just what it teaches you. I mean, I was never a Division I wrestler, but the impact the sports had on my life with my career, it's pretty evident that it made a big impact on me. So just that little thing, coming back and taking third place, that was a big deal. Ended up beating a guy that had beaten me earlier that season. I had 2 losses that season. He was one of them. Early December, came back and beat him for third. I think it was 2-1. I rode him an entire period. I remember that. And now we're 50 years old, and his son wrestles in college now. So when I see him, I make the joke like, hey, and we're friends now. Funny how it works out, but I'll let him know that I'd still be riding him today if I had to be. I mean, he wasn't going anywhere. But that set the stage my junior year. I think just learning I had to get better. My senior year, long story short, lost in the state finals. It was a really tough loss, lost in overtime. And, it bothered me. It was way too important. Again, looking back, this is 30-some years ago. But just it was just probably more, not probably, it was more important than it really was, or what it should have been, at least in my mind. But lost in the state finals, and it is what it is. That's what makes this sport, again, so great. Jason, give me 1 second. I'm like a little hot in my house, so I'm going to open up a window. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. While Shane is getting himself cooled down, we'll be able to announce also some more guests that are going to be on next week.
Sorry about that, Jason.
Yeah, no worries.
Man, got a lather going here. Man, I feel like I'm cutting some weight in here. And I got it set at like 63 degrees. It's not even that warm. But as you know, I run a little bit hot.
Well, you Northerners aren't used to the heat, Just like BCS championships. You guys aren't used to them like we are down here, in the South. So we get a little more of it. So, I think it's one of those things, a loss doesn't necessarily define you, but it kind of changes the outcome of your feelings on things. My very first MMA fight, I was 34 years old. I took it on, I don't want to say short notice, but I had only been back to training for 6 weeks. I lost 35, 40 pounds for it. I cut a bunch of weight, and I lost. I lost my first match. And to tell you the truth, if I had won, I don't know if I would be here right now as involved in the sport as I am.
I mean, that's exactly it, Jason. That's exactly what you come to learn. When you get a little bit older, a little bit more mature, you have different life experiences, different perspectives. 100%. I mean, when I look at my time in wrestling, just wrestling as a kid and now in my career, I drew an ace. I hit blackjack. Nobody wants to hear about me whining about anything but wrestling, because the sport has given me so much. It's given me so much. And what I love about it is, like you just said before, it's the, in any combat sport, in any competition, you win and you lose. It's just the way it is. Wrestling, one of my favorite tweets ever that I'll never forget, Isaiah Martinez was a 2-time national champion at Illinois, reigning national champion. He's wrestling Vincenzo Joseph of Penn State, and Vincenzo Joseph hits that inside trip and pins him. And the next morning, Isaiah Martinez had a tweet to, something like, very few people get out of this sport unscathed. Like, it was just like, you got beat. Like, it happens. And it's just the way it goes. I think, nobody likes to lose, but there can be a lot of value in it. A lot of value.
What people really don't, outside of this sport, get and understand is, you're not, especially in a Division I type atmosphere, you're not showing up on the mat every time uninjured. You're not showing up every time with a good weight cut. So when a guy does go undefeated in a college season,
Insane.
it is a miracle that he wasn't sick one day, or the back
Yep.
wasn't hurting one day, or a knee wasn't tweaked one match. So for a guy to do it, it's unbelievable. And you'll find that most guys winning national titles have probably lost that year. It's rare for a guy to remain undefeated. Even returning national champions have lost. And it is a testament to you to be able to bounce back from that, and everybody that does. And that's why we love this sport so much, is because of that drama.
Yeah, and I think, Jim Gibbons, my broadcast partner, who is just awesome. You'll have to get him on if you can. He's just so good, so much wisdom and knowledge and experience. He's pretty much experienced it all in when it comes to college wrestling. And he made a comment to me once, this past wrestling season, we, in our travels, and it came up like the pain of losing. The pain of losing. Now, keep in mind, Jim Gibbons is a national champ. He's a national champion coach as well. And he talks about a story, I believe it was his senior year. He had won it his junior year, beat a real stud, Daryl Burley from Lehigh, to win that title. That was a stacked bracket. But the next year, I believe, it was in his home gym in Ames. And he took third, he took third place. And he talked about the pain of that loss. But the interesting thing he said to me, which kind of surprised me, but it was just interesting. He said, "But my pain was no greater than yours." Like it was just kind of hit me. Like, you can lose a tough high school match, you can lose a tough college match. Maybe it's in any division. We all remember them. We all remember, but it was an interesting comment that Jim made to me. And yeah, at the time, that stuff is painful, but you look back on it and you become grateful for it because you understand the value, and that was in the cards at that time, and then you got to make the best of it.
I've seen a lot of kids over the years, from coaching and stuff, and there's two types of kids. There's kids that love to win, and there's kids that hate to lose. Mm-hmm. And you want that kid that hates to lose, because he's going to work so hard not to have that feeling. Where the kid that loves to win, he's like, hey, if I won, great. If I didn't, okay, that sucks. I didn't, but I don't really care. Where that guy that hates to lose, he's going to push himself. But sometimes they can get dark. They can that loss can overtake their entire personality and drive. So you've got to really find a good balance there. I think one of the things that I see a lot in this business is we get a lot of people that hit us up and want to be broadcasters and want to do commentary. I mean, you saw it with Match Day. We had to bring in, people. If you weren't available, we luckily had some amazing talent. We brought in guys like Kyle Dake and David Taylor, and, we had some Justin James. We had some great people to fill in. But the inbox stays full of guys saying, I could do this. Mm-hmm. You and I both know that it's not simply sitting down and talking about a sport, right? Tell me what it's like for you, the prep work that you do to be a good broadcaster.
I would say it is, to a certain level, it's 24/7. I mean, I'm always looking for things. Maybe not intentionally, but wrestling broadcasting, I mean, that's what I do. I mean, that's my job. I mean, it's probably just like that with everybody else. Whatever your job is, you never really fully get away from it. And now with social media, I mean, I'm always, probably too much time, but on social media, finding stories. It's a 24. I'm always thinking about it. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just what it takes. And everybody, like you said, everybody thinks they can do it. And I'm not saying there's a lot of people that can't, but there's a lot of people that think they can do it that probably can't do it.
I think
there's levels to everything. I mean, it's one thing to do. I mean, that's the one thing I get a lot. And if I'm being real honest, and I've never said this out loud, but it's actually quite, and I'm pretty difficult to offend. Okay. But I would say this, and I get this quite a bit too. I've done a few high school matches, Shay, and like, can you get me into the Big Ten Network? And that just grinds my gears, because it's like, you think I just showed up one day on the Big Ten Network? I was doing mat side stuff at the NCAAs for over a decade before I got a crack at it. over a decade. I was doing matches for years in high school gyms, carrying my own equipment, which was fine. But being up, I mean, the grind, and it just, I can do it. Like it's a little bit like like any job. I got a house being built across the street. Like I should show over there and be like, yeah, I built a dog house one day. Let me build a house. Like,
Give me a hammer. Yeah, that's what the biggest point I wanted to get was you had to really grind and sacrifice and probably for zero money whatsoever to get to where you are. And people watch a couple events and they think, well, I'm ready to do this. I can do this. Not understanding what it's like to be a part of a live broadcast, what it's like to stream out live where there is no takes. There is no, let's do this again. We got to start over because I didn't have my lines memorized. No, you've got to go. And unfortunately, it's tough to say. Wrestling can be a boring sport to watch for a spectator sometimes. So commentary is that much more important to keep the fan that might not understand the sport, might not understand the rules, to keep them engaged and keep them interested. What are some of the things you do that keep the fans interested?
Wrestling from a broadcast standpoint, where it gets more difficult in comparison to, like, I love to call baseball, but baseball is different from a broadcast standpoint because there is a very distinct cadence. Here's the 1-1 outside, 2-1. I mean, now you probably got 10, 15 seconds to mention some things, whatever that might be. Set up an analyst for a quick question, but there's a break in the action. Same with football. In wrestling, not really. So it's that you just got to kind of feel it. Like, you got to feel when you want to get an analyst in, and having Jim Gibbons next to me on the Big Ten Network is the ultimate safety blanket. Because I could go to him with anything. Now, sometimes I'm in broadcast because I'm a big believer too, like it's a team effort. It's not the play-by-play guy, the production truck, the analyst, like this guy gets this grade or this person gets that grade. That's not how it is. This is a team effort 100%. So sometimes if I'm on a broadcast, I got to be aware of who the analyst is, how much experience they have, broadcasting and or wrestling, and knowing what questions to ask them without putting them on the spot. Or that's something I've kind of learned in the last 5 years working with different entities and different analysts. But I try to I think for me, Jason, I believe God's given us all gifts. Like I've always said, you could go downtown Chicago and see a homeless guy in the corner. He can do something that you can't, and he can do something that would blow your mind. I will promise you that. Everybody can do things, and the reality is God gives us talents that we didn't ask for, okay? I would say, I don't know if I'd call it a talent, but a trait of mine is I'm pretty positive. I got some energy. How I got it, I don't know. Like, I'm a pretty positive guy. So I think from a broadcast standpoint, my energy and my passion kind of keeps me in the game. So I think that's what comes to mind first and foremost as far as how to keep people interested. Let people know I'm interested. I get people all the time like, oh, Shane, you're so excited and you got so much energy. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, look at what I get to do. Like, are you kidding? I mean, I get the best seat in the house for the best college wrestling in the country. Of course I'm excited because I love it. So I think that comes through, and then you combine that with stories, stats to build up, the match or the events. I think that's kind of how it works for me.
Another thing people don't get is when we're doing stuff, we've got producers in our ear talking to us, and I challenge people to be on a phone call with their wife and then have another conversation with someone else and let your wife yell in your one ear, and you have a conversation with someone else without being interrupted. It's very difficult to do, and it's something most people don't get. I've had instances where I've been announcing, and there was a delay in my earpiece of a half a second, so I'm hearing myself a half a second later, and if you don't think that's going to throw you off, it'll throw you off big time.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors for sure. A lot of times, some of the more difficult things from a broadcast standpoint are things people, like you just mentioned, they wouldn't give it a second thought. I mean, It could be, like you just mentioned, match gets over. There's going to be going to a commercial break in 17 seconds. Now the producer's in your ear letting you know what video is going to come up. You gotta react to that, time it, say the right things, get out. I mean, there's a lot going on, but it's so fun. I've always looked at broadcasting as a puzzle, and I've always said this, Jason, in my own mind, I love it because it's the pursuit. For me, it's the pursuit. You got the preparation leading up to it. You're ready to go. In a lot of ways, it's like a wrestling match, at least in my mind. But it's the preparation, and now it's the pursuit of excellence. And when I show up at a broadcast, I promise you, I think, and I really believe it, today is the day it's going to be perfect. Today's the day we're going to get that perfect broadcast. It's going to get all over. We're going to go back, kick back at the hotel and just, bask in the glory of the perfect broadcast. And the analogy I give is it's like that dog at the dog track, and I think they put like a piece of rabbit fur in front of him, and that dog is chasing. I mean, it is right there. I mean, he can see it. He can smell it. He believes with every fiber of his being that he's going to get it, and he's pursuing it. And he doesn't quite get it. I mean, that's how I look at broadcasting. So I make a joke. I have the record of 1,117 consecutive broadcasts with a mistake. I have the record. But I will tell you this. If my life was on the line, I would tell you my next broadcast in a couple of weeks, it's going to be perfect. That's
absolutely.
It's going to be the night. It's going to be perfect.
And a lot of people don't get there's a lot of outside factors that can throw us off. Like I said, the earpiece having a half a second delay. I've had things happen where I'm in the cage about to announce and my earpiece goes completely out. I can't hear anybody and I have to turn it off. And now I don't know when I'm live or when I'm getting cued. And I've had to look at John Morgan and I give him the earpiece. It's gone. And hopefully he sees it, even though he's got lights in his face. And we had to go old school where he's got to cue me with a finger. I'm sure you've had instances of that happening. I guarantee it that stuff's like happen. And that's what people don't understand either when you're in this business. Plan for having to use the second, third, fourth line of equipment to make things work because you can't always guarantee that things are going to work for you.
And that's why, Jason, too, the production people are so important. I mean, the audio guy, to me, that's always the most important person to me is who's ever doing audio or the equipment. Like when the audio's good, cooking with oil. When it's not, like you just mentioned, I've done a fair share of college football games on the sidelines. It gets loud. You can't hear anybody. It's the Southwest Airlines want to get away. That's what it is. But like you said, you just got to figure it out somehow. It's live television.
And that's where knowledge of your equipment comes in. I know a lot of times if I'm announcing a full show where it's 4 to 5 hours, I'll tell them as soon as the UFC Fight Pass portion starts, I want you to replace the 9-volt battery in my earpiece because it usually always goes out and it's going to go out the co-main event or main event. So just change it out now, but that's knowledge of equipment that you don't gain because you did a couple shows here and there at a high school. You've learned it over years and years and years of experience. And I've seen your prep work, right? I've seen your detailed notes for everybody. I'm reminded you talking about baseball and nowadays I don't even know if there's broadcasting anymore that's a single person because the last guy that could really do it was Vin Scully. He was the only guy. There's no comparison. There's Vin Scully and everybody else.
Absolutely.
And I'm not a Dodger fan. I'm an Angel fan, but I still recognize greatness in broadcasting.
Yes.
Because no matter who was coming up to the plate, he knew information about that guy and he could fill the broadcast. And that's what people don't get too is there's not always a lot to talk about in wrestling. There could be, 4 minutes of stalemates. There could be 4 minutes of no scoring. How do you talk about that? What kind of things does Shane Sparks talk about to keep something like that interesting?
I think it just all depends on the moment. There could be it really depends on just what the situation is. Who's out there? Maybe it's one thing that we do like on the Big Ten Network is we'll have some different segments, which I love. One of them is remember that guy. So maybe, there's some, they may be pre-recorded, or they could be some live elements that comes in handy sometimes. Maybe it's, like you said before, get on the talk back button and I see something and I'm telling my producer, like, let's go here. Like, you kind of got to feel it out. I mean, it just really all depends, but you better be ready. You better be ready with something. But I'll have normally like a piece of paper next to me that I would consider, like, if I really need something, go to it. Maybe it's blood time. So maybe it's blood time and it's Ohio State, Penn State, and I'm like, Shane Sparks, Jim Gibbons here in Columbus, Buckeyes lead at 18-15, whatever it might be. And then I'll look at like the schedule. Next week, Ohio State will travel to Rutgers to take on Scott Goodell and the Scarlet Knights. Hey, Jim, man, Rutgers has had a great dual meet season. And then he'll comment on that. So those are kind of the things I do, is what I would call like kind of just safety nets, places to go when you need something.
And that's talent that people just don't understand and know about. Not everybody has the talent. The gift. Absolutely.
I've always said this, Jason. Everybody wants to do this. I get it. I recently did a podcast with Terry Brands, okay? And Terry said this: imagine being an Olympic champion. Imagine being a multi-time world champion. Imagine now, if this rule goes through, being a 5-time NCAA champion. Visualize those things. And that's great. And then he says this, but also visualize 6 a.m. Visualize fueling your body at this particular time. Visualize this workout. Visualize that discipline. Visualize this discipline. And that is so well said, because when you see me on a Friday night on Big Ten Network, it looks pretty darn cool. And trust me, it is. It is. I got the greatest. I mean, I really believe that I have the greatest job in the world. I believe that. I mean, I wouldn't change places with anybody. But I guarantee it wasn't that fun, the night before at 2 a.m. I'll guarantee it wasn't. Traveling. And again, I'm not complaining. It's all part of the deal, but it's not as glorious as it looks. I mean, there's a lot of times that, it all looks good, when the lights go on. But
yep, that's exactly right. People see the finished product. They don't see what happens before or after. For an MMA show, they're not seeing the medicals getting done, the licensing, setting up the cage, doing weigh-ins, checking people in, doing my announcing cards, building the locker room, separating athletes, getting them ready, booking flights, doing coordination for travel. They don't see all that. All they see is, dude, you got to be in the cage and announce people. You got to sit right by the cage. I'm like, yeah, I did. But there was a lot that happened before that. Yeah. And I think one of the big things you do as well that's so important with broadcasting is I think it totally discredits someone if they start broadcasting and they show bias. Because you're automatically disenfranchising half of the people watching if you're biased to a certain team, a certain person. We have our favorites. I understand. We always do. But how do you balance, even though you have someone that you like, even though you're rooting for somebody, how are you able to speak about both athletes neutrally?
Again, this is something it's just the way I'm wired. Jason, I root for every single one of these guys. Like that's the long and short, that's the very short answer. I root for all of them because I have relationships with these coaches and with these athletes. I respect them. I have somewhat of an understanding of what it takes to get to the level where they're at. And I root for all of them. Like I root for all of them. So I want to root for all of them, and I want to promote all of them. I think it was, Derek Jeter of the Yankee great once said, somebody asked him like why he played so hard every day. And I think he might have got this from Lou Gehrig, but you'll get the point. He made a comment about, I got to give it my all because there could be some kid there 7 years old and he's watching me for the first time and maybe never watches me again. So I owe it to that kid. I look at it like that with the athletes. Like, we're going to get Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa, Nebraska. I call a ton of those matches. I don't call as many, with all due respect to, some of the other teams in the Big Ten, I'm not calling their matches as often. Okay? So when I do call them, I need to honor those kids. Like they deserve that from me. And by the way, when you wrestle in the Big Ten, you're in the major leagues. So, these are major leaguers. So, professional broadcast. So that's something I always think. And there's not always, sometimes it's not as easy, but I try to at least, get the name, get the hometown, give a couple credentials. I don't go as in depth sometimes because, again, just from a broadcast standpoint, anything can happen in sports. We get it, but there are certain matches where I know, like, okay, this might be quick, so let's try to get in there at least, promote both guys the best I can. But I think I root for all these guys. I root for every single one of them, and I think they know that. The coaches, I like them all. They all help me do my job. So yeah, I've never had a real hard time with bias. I will say this. I would say this. Working on the Big Ten Network and getting to know the Big Ten guys compared to maybe somebody in the ACC or Big 12 that I don't know, I don't think you're ever going to hear the bias on an ESPN broadcast. You might hear it on a Big Ten broadcast because it's Big Ten Network. So there's maybe a little bit of that. But for the most part, I don't think I don't hear a whole lot of feedback from fans. Not a whole lot. There's always going to be a little bit, but I don't hear a ton of people complaining about that. But,
it's a common thing, in Philadelphia where CFFC does most of their events. We know all the local guys, right? The local people with gyms that are, involved in almost every card we do. And what I never want is their opponent coming in from out of town to ever feel like we wanted that person to win or we were against them. We want to make sure that they're treated with the absolute respect. And even when I announce, if I'm in any way whatsoever concerned about the pronunciation of the city they're from or their gym name or how to pronounce their nickname, I ask them at check-in, hey, how do you say your last name?
Yeah,
and people
absolutely.
are like,
That's
Russian
great
guys
advice,
like,
Jason.
yeah, this Russian guy's like, well, he says it real quick. I'm like, hold on. The reason I'm asking you is because I'm the announcer and I'm going to say it. So say it real slow for me and I'll write it out the way I sound it and I'll pronounce it back to them. And once they give me the okay, then they're always like, wow, no one's ever done that before. I appreciate it. They usually just butcher my name.
Yep, exactly. That is the number one rule in broadcasting is names. No doubt. And I've always, told people, don't trust the coaches. Don't trust fans. You have got to go to that kid. And a lot of times they'll say, oh, that's fine. And I'm always, no, it's not fine. What is it? Like, let's get it right. And there have been a handful of times where I'll get people like telling me that I'm wrong. And I'm like, if you don't like the pronunciation of it, go talk to so-and-so. Because that's who told me.
Yeah, your point is proven because good old Scotty sent us at Campbell one time, the first time we were there. I had asked him how to say Tay Gadi Ali's last name, and he told me something completely different.
Well, and he switches. Tay has switched his name like 3 times now.
So that was always a fun one. And I remember I'd ask him every time, and it would be something different. So I'm like, let me just go talk to Tay.
This year was Tay Gadali, but he's mixed it up a little bit. He's a great story.
That was a really phenomenal story from where he came from in the Campbell program. We worked a lot with them at match day, and it's kind of unfortunate.
Bowie's
Yeah.
Creek, North Carolina.
What a beautiful place. Unfortunately, when we tried to do the match on the baseball field, that didn't work out very well. But again, we had a secondary option. We literally stopped a dual meet in the middle of a dual meet with Nebraska, rolled up the
Yes.
mats, moved them 150 feet across the street to a gym,
Indoor,
hooked up a
yes.
cable to a wireless camera, and finished the dual meet. And even had one of those claw matches with Jordan Oliver after that. I don't
Yes,
think
yes.
I
Him
don't
and
know
Bryce
many
Antonian.
people.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know many people could pull that off.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. That was another cool event on the baseball field. Yeah, as you said, it didn't go as planned, but still, just taking chances and trying to do some of those things. I love that. I love it. I wish there was more of that. With wrestling.
It was a great time. Now, we've seen some really interesting things happening in wrestling right now, and I think one of the biggest stories is Jax Forrest, a basically high school kid. His senior year, decides to wrestle a couple matches. He's going to be redshirt. He's not going to wrestle more than 5 matches. They decided the last minute to pull it, and the kid wins a absolutely stacked NCAA championships when he shouldn't even have been wrestling that year. I mean, could you imagine your senior year, you going and winning an NCAA championship, or even kids in the high school level, the best high school kids you could think of, winning an NCAA championship?
It's absurd. I mean, I've done a dual meet with Bishop McCourt the previous 2 seasons. So last year I did one with Jax Forrest, and this year he was gone already. I think he wrestled like Powerade before he went to Stillwater. But as you mentioned, to win that weight class the way he did, I mean, I remember a dual meet mid-February, late February against Iowa when he teched Drake Ayala, who ultimately was a 3-time All-American, 2-time national finalist, an absolute hammer. And it's pretty incredible what these young kids are doing, but it reminds us all, like, age is not a reason for failure. I mean, these guys are so good with technology and the training opportunities available to these kids growing up. I mean, they are showing up, and as we've seen, I mean, they are ready to win. And he's a great story. Jax Forrest, incredible.
Yeah, we have a girl that's been competing for us at CFFC BJJ. I believe she's 12 or 13 years old, and she just, on our last card, she submitted a black belt in about a minute. And she's done that multiple times. She hasn't lost on her card. She's 12 or 13 years old. She can't even wear a regular colored belt until she's 16. She's a child. Her dad has to travel with her. She can't get paid because she doesn't have a bank account. We have to pay her through her dad because she's not old enough to have a bank account yet. It's crazy to think about. And I think 20 years ago, like I said, if you told me the best high school kid in the country was going to wrestle in the NCAAs his senior year, I would have told you he's going to get the crap kicked out of him. He's going to get embarrassed. And now these kids are winning. We see Bo Bassett. He's going to be in Final X. It's truly, truly an amazing time for wrestling. I don't know what's changed, but something has. I don't know if it's something in the water or what it is. But you got 2 kids at the same school that are now going to be the future of our sport.
And at the U.S. Open, Jaden James, he's 17. He took David Carr down to the wire, 17 years old. 17, going to Penn State. Like, that is insane. And, I mean, he's doing it, at, 74 kilos. That's a man's weight.
Well, that's one of the absolute most competitive weight classes in any combat sport. If it's wrestling, if it's MMA, whatever it is. I remember my senior year, I drove out to Vegas to go wrestle in the U.S. Open. I was 17. I drove out there. The lowest weight class was 119. I probably weighed 115. And I remember looking at like the 160, 170-pound weight classes, and there was 5 pages of guys because there was so many of them.
Sure.
A Joe Williams weight class, a Shane Burr, those kind of weight classes. There were so many guys where my weight class, there was probably only 20 guys, if that.
Sure.
But 163, 174, there was 100 guys competing. You had to win 20 matches to get to the finals. It was just a hammer. So a 17-year-old kid.
James at the U.S. Open, that one to me really raised my eyebrows and I actually called one of his matches this year too, out in New York or Yeah, I remember doing a match. Actually, he's Del Barton. So I think we did, going off of memory, I think he did Del Barton Blair Academy. And I got to see him wrestle. And obviously wasn't out there long, so I didn't get, he's so good against the high school kid. You're not going to learn a whole lot there, but fell behind David Carr. I want to say 8-9-1, came back, and it was a 1-score match. Like, that's a dude right there. That's a dude.
And David Carr is one of the absolute best in the world. We've gotten to see him on match day multiple times. We've seen him in the NCAA championships. He broke a lot of guys. He's beaten a lot of tough people. Was he a world silver medalist?
He, at the Worlds last year, believe he took 5th.
So, phenomenal wrestler, obviously from an amazing pedigree with his dad.
Yes.
So for a 17-year-old kid, it's just absolutely amazing. And it gives me a lot of promise about what's going on in the sport. Because now you've got such exciting things to watch. It's a story. It's like watching Tiger Woods win the Masters. Everybody's invested wanting to watch these kids win.
And if this 5-for-5 thing happens, and I think it's going to pass. We'll see. But if you get 5 years, that is going to mix things up a little bit.
It definitely will.
Because now all of a sudden, when you go to some of these schools, they can piece it together. You're gonna, take a gray shirt or a red shirt or an Olympic red shirt, or maybe you have an injury. Like now you can mix and match guys and create a lineup for this year and forecast a couple of years and put it all together. Now, I don't see some of these kids going to certain schools because they want to start right out of the gate. So I think
absolutely.
Time will tell, but I think that will. I think college wrestling right now, the parity is actually pretty good. I know Penn State's been dominant the past couple of years, but you look at the national tournament the past couple of years and go 2 through 10. I'd say the parity's pretty good, and I think if this 5-for-5 thing passes, that'll spread the wealth a little bit more.
We talking about that talent level, we've seen a school like Little Rock in Arkansas come from absolutely nowhere and have multiple All-Americans.
Yeah.
Something truly, truly impressive. Obviously, they've lost a couple guys to transfers to Iowa, but that's truly impressive for Arkansas, which is really considered very low talent level for high school wrestling. Same with Tennessee, where I live. Mississippi just got wrestling in high school a few years ago. So the talent pool's not that deep here. And I, like you said, it's going to prevent guys from wanting to transfer every other year, go to another school, or have to sit behind somebody where they're going to lose a year of eligibility because they're sitting behind somebody when they can go somewhere else. And hopefully we see a resurgence in schools coming up.
I would love to see colleges add the sport of wrestling. I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, I would love to see, obviously working for the Big Ten Network, I would love to see, Oregon, who once had a program, UCLA once had a program, Washington. I mean, Larry Owings, one of the most popular wrestlers ever, who beat Dan Gable, he wrestled at Washington. I don't believe USC ever had a varsity wrestling sport.
Just a club.
How great would that be? I mean, that would be awesome. I would love to see Texas, Texas or Florida, like that, Georgia. Georgia would be an awesome place for a Division I wrestling team.
What's crazy about California is it's the biggest state. It has the most wrestlers and very, very, very few Division I opportunities. Unless you can get into Stanford, you're not going to wrestle there. It's not an easy school to get into, even if you're a great wrestler. So we see all these, talented kids from California have to go somewhere else. UCLA brings a program back. USC brings a program back. Fresno had a program.
Yeah.
UC Bakersfield. You had Stephen Neal there. You had a lot of tough talent because there's a lot of tough talent locally there. And you give kids the opportunity to stay home and stay nearby, they could quickly bring it up. But like you said, programs have dropped and we're not seeing it. And hopefully that brings it up. And we just saw, I don't know if you saw the announcement today that the World Championships is now postponed due to location. Yeah. Have you heard any news on that?
No, I just saw that. And I don't know all the facts and what goes, what all goes into this. But on the surface, disappointing. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, it's disappointing. Hope they figure it out.
Yeah, maybe, and it's one of those things. It's weird with short notice. If you're bringing in guys from all over the world, there's visa implications, passport issues. There's a lot of things. It's easy to say, well, let's just do it in the States. Well, not everybody can get here, so you've got to be somewhere that lets all these guys from Azerbaijan and Mongolia and China and all these people come to one location and be safe and travel safely and be there. So I'm really interested, and I hope that it doesn't get canceled or delayed even farther because these guys work so hard for that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope it gets resolved and sooner than later, and the date is relatively close to the original date, if not on that exact date. Because you have got, you have just a lot of different factors that go into it. So, yeah, I saw that, and I hope it gets resolved.
One great thing about wrestling is you don't have to build us a soccer stadium to compete. You don't have to build us a venue. Throw some mats down in a gym, and we can make it happen anywhere you are. So that's the one good thing about our sport is it should logistically be pretty easy to find us a new location, minus the logistics of visas and travel and stuff like that. So I wanted to close out one. I wanted to thank you for coming on. I think it's really important that people get to know you, and you've become a very popular figure in the sport. And I've had the pleasure of getting to talk to you one-on-one and get to know you. And I think it's important for people to hear that story, that it's not just you showed up one day with a mic in the Big Ten. You put in a decade's worth of work for little to no compensation. You're extremely prepared, professional, energetic, knowledgeable, and you provide a service to the people that are watching, and I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, the privilege is mine, Jason. I mean, the fact I get to do this, it's not lost on me. I mean, because life is short. You never know what's going to happen 20 minutes from now. So the fact I get to do this, it's a real honor. The privilege is mine. It's not lost on me. Like I said before, I think I get the best job in the world. I mean, one thing that I always do is I go into usually it's a bathroom before matches and I'm just in there all by myself, give myself a little pep talk. And I look in the mirror and I look in the pupils of my eyes and I say it out loud. I look myself in the eye and I go, can you believe you get to do this? You get to do this. I don't think I've comprehended it yet. I really don't, because it's, talking about the Big Ten Network specifically, there's one lead play-by-play guy on the Big Ten Network. One. That's it. So
people like to throw the word luck out with a lot of things in combat sports, like that was a lucky punch or that was a lucky submission. And Hickson Gracie said it one time. He was like, it seems Henzo Gracie said, seems the more I train, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
It really is not luck.
I hate it. It's funny you said that because I hate the word luck, but I also know, I would say, I don't want to use the word luck, but I would use the words good fortune. And some people might say, well, that's luck. Well, maybe it is. It's so many factors. I mean, I've gotten so fortunate, it's God. God's put me here. That's just the way it is. I don't ever think I don't think anything else. Timing, God's timing is everything. That's just what it is. And
hard work beats luck every time.
You got to work hard. And I would say this, Jason, the other thing that I think, you got to be relatively easy to work with, I think. You got to be nice. You got to be kind, treat people with respect. Some of those things I think are pretty basic, but maybe they're not that basic. I think that's another big one too. Don't be a problem for people. Because I know this too. It's not like I'm the only guy that can do this. I understand that. There's other people I could do this. For whatever reason, I just am in this seat, but the show would go on without me. And, you got to just do things the right way, because everybody's replaceable too. It's just the way it is.
Everybody thinks that if they quit their job, the company would fall apart.
No,
I've
it
seen
still
I've
goes
seen
on.
I've seen high level leaders drop dead of a heart attack, and his job was posted the next day and filled the next week, and nobody ever knew he was gone.
Yeah, the
So we
show
are
goes on.
fortunate.
That's
We are
just
fortunate to be where we are and get to do what we do. And like you said, a lot of it is your attitude and your personality when working with people. Is I have fighters that they're late on getting medicals, they're late to weigh-ins, they got bad attitudes. I'm not going to book them again unless
yeah,
it's to get beat up. That's the
sure.
only way I would, because you're not fun to work with. Before I let you go, though, I do want to show you who our guest is next week, and maybe you'll know a little bit about him. So next week on the 26th, we're going to have 1996 Olympian Rob Eider. He was actually the matchmaker for CFFC Match Day. Used a lot of his connections. You got to think about that team he was on in 96. It was about as stacked of a team as you could possibly imagine, with so many great guys and so many guys that are coaching in college now. What do you know about Rob?
Well, I was a big, wrestling fan in the mid '90s. I mean, Rob was slick. I mean, Rob's a stud. I mean, great career, and I got to know him a little bit doing our stuff on, doing our wrestling matches a couple years back. So got to know him a little bit. Just real nice guy, great hair.
Definitely rocking the mullet. Still got it.
Rob's just a cool cat. Just fun to be around, and a great career. And that'll be. I'll have to check that out. That'll be really good.
Hey, I just met him by chance when I saw that he was from Haddonfield, where our CEO lives, and I invited him to an MMA match, and this all developed and happened. And now every time I'm in town, we hang out. So it's been a great time, and we're really looking forward to having him on the show next week. Really happy to have you on this week. So we'll share some clips, and hopefully people will learn a little bit more about the Shane Sparks that I know and the Shane Sparks that people have worked with, and there's that little more bit of appreciation of knowing that Shane Sparks doesn't just show up and start talking about wrestling. Shane Sparks put a lot of work. I wish too, I wish I wasn't filling out announcing cards and doing all these things.
I mean, that's the other thing I would say too, is maybe some people can do that. I'm not good enough. I am not talented enough to just show up and wing it. I'm not good enough. I gotta grind it, which is just the way it is.
So where can we catch you next? What's up next for you?
So the next thing I am doing is Real American Freestyle, RAF in Dallas. That is on Saturday, May 30th. And then there was one 2 weeks after that in St. Louis in June. And then looking forward to, I believe would be RAF 11, if I have my numbers right. That one will be in Milwaukee in July. So that'll be a lot of fun. I just love calling wrestling. I don't care who it's with, who's wrestling. It's just, I love broadcasting. And again, that pursuit of just getting better every opportunity I have behind a microphone. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I actually just booked Josh Thompson's flight. He's going to do commentary for us next week. And his thing was like, I got to be on the first flight out of Philly to Dallas because he'll be at RAF that Saturday as well on the 30th. RAF has really done some pretty amazing things with letting wrestlers have a personality and putting some really cool matchups out there with UFC athletes wrestling each other. You've heard about their wrestling skill. Now you've gotten to see it. So I'm really happy about what RAF is doing. I think it's a great product, and I hope that they can sustain and keep building a fan base. And this is something that builds just like the UFC does and has just a storied future.
Yeah, they're off to a great start. So if you ever get a chance, make sure to check it out. It's a lot of fun. They do a good job.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much, Shane, for being on our show. Can't thank you enough, and can't express to people how great of a guy you are. And it's been a pleasure and honor to work with you. And I'll catch you in the near future.
Well, thank you so much, Jason. Great to see you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye. All right, that was Shane Sparks. Episode 3. Like I said, we are back with Rob Eider next week, May 26, 2 p.m. Central Time, 1996 Olympian, with a really amazing story about how he went from a average high school wrestler to an Olympian less than 10 years later. So I really think you'll enjoy his story and all the things that he's done in the sport as not just an athlete, but as a coach, a trainer, an advocate, being the women's world world team coach. He's gotten to do a lot, and you will be very surprised and get to hear a lot of cool stories about him when we catch it next week. So until then, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you next week.